Hey guys, today we have a neat one. Wizard, one of the developers on the Kolovar server, has made a new tool that is going to be available for the entire DCS community. It is a new ATC GCI tool that is completely free and does not require a paid license or the Combined Arms module. Flying with the GCI is a wonderful experience, and the fact that it's locked behind a paywall has always irked me, but no longer. SRC, or Standard Radar Control, has been released, and I sat down with the maker to go over the new tool and to show it off. Please note that SRC is in testing only on the Kolovar server for now, but it will be released so any server can use it. I think the community will really like using this, especially the private PvE communities. So sit down and relax to see the introduction of this new tool. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay. So if you're into that, please subscribe. Okay, Wizard, I have just turned on your SRC, or Standard Radar Control. I'm going to go ahead and connect to a Heapler Cold War server. And as I do this, maybe you can give yourself a quick intro so everyone knows who we're talking to.
Hello, my name is Wizard on Discord. I have been a part of DCS for probably like 10 years now, flying, and the last like 3 or 4 years or so mainly just writing Lewis scripting and developing for the Enigma's Cold War server here and there.
All right, there we go. And you have made something very interesting, which has caught my eye, and it's the point of this video, which is to give some visibility into it. So could you start us off by explaining what are we looking at right here? Because I literally just logged in.
So right now you're looking at a overview of what an air traffic controller or a ground control interceptor, which is commonly known as like a GCI, would be looking at, where you would be controlling players and giving them bras and picture callouts, that sort of thing.
Perfect. And the server that we're on we're on Heapler's Cold War server. So everything that we see right now is all the players on the server. Like for example, we can see a fight going on here between a MiG-21S and an F4. So we'll keep an eye on this fight as we're talking. And okay, so you made this program. The DCS by default, actually not by default anymore because it's locked behind Combined Arms, but DCS does have, with Combined Arms, a GCI controller option using the F10 menu or map. So let's start off with why did you make this?
Well, as far as I know, there's not many options. There's probably 1 or 2 others, but there's not many that offer a free way to do GCI or air traffic control. And additionally, like, the free ones don't really offer as many features as this one does right off of the initial release.
Yeah, so let's go into the features. I will start off by, I'm already showing the zoom and the pan. I'm going to actually go a little bit out of order. I'm going to filter out some of the friendly detection. So these are turning off the friendly detection, and we have the enemy detection, the enemy threats, and the enemy RWRs. Enemy RWRs are like the radar sources, right?
Yeah, they're the actual position, and it's based off of latitude and longitude, so it directly correlates to where they're at on the map itself. The detection rings are just the detection radius of whatever kind of air defense it is, and the threat ring, which is in red, I might also add the yellow as detection, but the threat ring in red is, like where, it's kind of like where you're in the danger zone, where you're in like the terminal range of whatever kind of air defense it is.
Sure. And then could you remind me, how do we add the airfield, just so I can show? I think it'll make it much easier for people to understand. What's the command?
A lot of the features that display things can be utilized with commands. The way to toggle all the air bases, which would include the runways and taxiways, is going to be A-B Alpha Bravo space T-A Tango Alpha, and enter.
There we go. Yeah, so now we can see the airfields. Okay, so now I think this will make it a little bit easier. So basically, we are in Syria. That's Cyprus. There's Turkey, and then here's all the fighting going on. And we have the enemy threat rings and RWRs on. So let's start off with the first one, which is the range. I can zoom in and out, which is clear. This is a really interesting one, which is off-center. So if I click this, I go to the center, and this is where the bullseye is. But if I wanted to make a separate bullseye, I believe you taught me this once already. So let's make a bullseye over here, right here.
It's not really a bullseye, but it's just an additional center location. In the future, there'll be like keybinds and shortcut keybinds where you can have additional places that you could consider a center. But it would basically mean like if you set yourself up that you're wanting to control over 3 airfields or something, you can place a center at 3 airfields and toggle between them all.
Sure. So I placed one there, and I'm going to click through here. This is the original one. Oh, wait, did I not place it? Hold on. Sorry. Let's go back, and then I'm going to place it here. Is it placed now?
You have to click anywhere on the screen where you want with your cursor.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, and now I can click through them and it'll snap over, which is pretty neat because if you had like a really big area with a lot of different points of interest, you can click through them really quickly, which is pretty nice. We have the range rings. So this I thought was actually pretty neat. So on the bullseye, you can click this and scroll up and down, and this sets the radius. So this is 10 miles. 10 miles, and this would be another 10 and another 10, which is pretty neat. Is there a way to click on the planes and in order to get a heading on them?
So their heading is displayed in the data block in position 2, which is going to be here. Let's do this. Go to char size, dB for data block, and change that to about 12 or so. There you go. So you can see the call signs at the top. The type of the aircraft is in the upper, below the call sign on the left side.
All right, is it Kiowa?
The magnetic heading and true heading are on the right side, below the call sign. The bottom left is the altitude in hundreds of feet. And in the lower right is the ground speed in knots, which is relative to your speed parallel to the ground. So if that OH-58 was to go completely vertical, that ground speed would drop to 0.
Right. So basically, let's pick a new one to make it interesting. So here we have call sign Lucky 11. He is in a Mirage F1CE with a magnetic heading of 195 at an altitude of 3,900 feet at a speed of 512 knots, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And then what's really neat here is you also have the history of where they have been. And you can see that he's been curving here. Looks like someone might have just taken off. Yeah, he's increasing speed. So he took off and then peeled out and then whipped it around. And then here we can see also, what about the different colors? So like we see like a dark purple and then it turns into a blue. Is this just like darker purple's older, or is it based on speed?
Yeah, it's just meaning that the darker it gets. For red, it's a little bit different. The yellow just indicates it's the last position. Like the more yellow it gets away from the contact, just indicates the further position it was previously at.
Okay, so we went through the character sizes and we can shift all these, and I started showing the filter, so you can turn off a lot. I think history is probably the tails, right? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I actually really like the tails because it gives actually a lot of context, because when you look at like in GCI with the F10 map, you can only see like the direction they're heading in, but you don't know like for example, like when I saw this guy who took off, I just realized, okay, like he just took off, he probably has full weapons. Like it tells you, or you can safely assume he has a lot of weapons, so you can get a lot just by looking at the history of where they've been. So that's pretty neat. There's altitude, that's nice. So basically, what's this? And then data block. Oh, this was a neat feature that you added. So let's use this guy. So direction, this is where the text is placed, right? So you can say the 9 o'clock, this is like keypad 9 position, right, top right. This would be
It's
top.
based off the locations of like your number pad.
Yeah, so this makes it kind of neat. Okay, so how long have you been working on this for?
In a week it'll be 5 months. I started it on around March 14th, Pi Day.
Okay, oh, there you go. Okay, so 5 months of work has gone into this, and we have a working candidate now. So this will be interesting for a lot of different people. One, it'll be interesting for people who have not had access to be able to be a GCI because they probably didn't have combined arms. This will also be interesting for people that run servers and communities because now they have an extra tool. They won't have it right now because this is only installed on Heapler's Cold War server, aka the old Enigma server. And let's talk about that. Like, what's the release plan? Because I'm sure some people are seeing this and rubbing their hands together and like, oh, we can really use this. I'm assuming you're only installed it on one server just so you could test, and then what?
Right, so right now it's Monday, August 5th, and I released the client version on Saturday, August 3rd. And right now it's in its initial like testing stage just to verify that server performance is up to par and doesn't cause any major lag to the server, basically running as if it weren't even there. And it's also to verify that there's no outstanding issues with the client. So that's just letting people get their hands on it, messing around with it, seeing if they find any weird issues. So this initial testing stage, I expect to last at least a week, possibly 2 weeks. And after that 2 weeks, what will happen is I'll release the server version, and server owners will be able to download that, and it comes with some custom export scripts that are very easy to install just in your usual save games location for your server. And that's pretty much it. You just start it up and clients can start connecting with you just have to open up one port and that's it. So that should be pretty easy setup for that.
What's the performance hit been like so far? Because I have tested some other programs before and had massive performance hits. So I'm kind of curious on what have you seen with the server load since you've installed this?
So server-wise, right now, performance is, I would say, 98% there, meaning that it really doesn't even affect the server at all. Especially a heavily scripted server like the Enigma / Heapler Cold War server, where there's various things going on, lots of things being called all simultaneously or independently, whatever you want to call it. On average, servers run at about 60 frames per second. If you're to create a little FPS type script for your server, you'll see that it runs at about 60 FPS. And right now, with all of my code running that's exporting data to the clients, it's about 60 FPS. So it's pretty good. The client version is also very good. There's really no lag at all. The most lag you would see is when you're panning around, when things have to be re-rendered, but it's honestly not even bad. So a lot of the things you can filter out. The biggest hit to performance in the client would probably be like the ISO lines, which is like the topography. It's all those green lines that you see. It's just useful, the ISO lines, for seeing terrain height and when people are trying to terrain mask. Right now, there's really no realistic type of export that'll come in later releases. Right now, it's just a global type export where it's see all.
The servers were starting. That's why everything dropped off. I was curious what happened. The server's loading a mission.
Yeah, server has not loaded a mission. So you should get some, most of your log message when things go wrong will appear in the command area, which is on the left side of your screen, directly in the middle. So it'll always be centered on the left side. Okay, you can connect, it's paused. And things should start populating here in a second now that the server's reloaded.
Yep,
there you go.
So, what's the future like feature list that you want to, because like I mean you have something really interesting here, right, and pretty unique. So what's the future look like in your mind of like where you're at the 5-month mark now? Where do you think you want to be in like at the 1 year mark?
At the 1 year mark, quite a bit. So one of the main things that people would probably most like to see is an integration with SRS, where you can see integration with SRS where the export types are either like a semi-realistic type or a realistic type of export, where data blocks are either partial or in full, depending on if someone is in mode 4 and squawking through SRS. So that's a big hurdle, but I have done some testing already, and it seems to be pretty easy to get integrated with. So that shouldn't be too much of a hurdle. Another thing that is, well, I'll just read off some things. So handing off tracks, picking up tracks. So I think in the future, the data blocks won't really be in full like they are now. You'll have to acquire or pick up the track in order to start getting the data block information. So with that, you'll have things like handoffs, point outs, and that sort of thing. Some more features will be like controllers being able to draw things on the map. So I'll create like a little drawing API where you could draw circles, squares, labels, whatever, that sort of thing. Also, I have some files already for VORs, DMEs, TACAN positions. So those things will be able to get drawn onto the map, so you can use those for reference.
Okay, so you're definitely still cooking, and a lot of ideas that come. And I mean, I could definitely see how this could be fleshed out even more. I mean, even having some sort of like, I don't want to call it like, I don't know if Lazar is the right way to say it, but some sort of like interception assistance, where like if you have 2 targets and it's able to figure out like what's the most optimal interception route, like that could be really neat. Or even adding features that add or take or that control, like a feature that controls features of being accessible. Like maybe you want people to have access to like an interception computer, but not in other scenarios. That could be neat. But I think you have something really compelling here, and it's really cool just to like be able to hop on and just be able to GCI for people and make it accessible to a larger population without bringing a server to its knees. So that's pretty cool.
There is, on the topic of like an interception, there is a way to link 2 contacts together. So if you were to do that right now, so right now you're controlling on the blue side, so you'll probably want to start a link between 2 contacts from 1. So you'd use left control and click on a blue target. So left control and click on them, and then you can use left control and click on the next one, a red guy, for example, there. So now you have a link with a bearing and range to the contact, to the other contact. You can also see it's in a list up in the upper right corner.
Okay, so you already have something built into it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely really neat. Anything else you want to get the word out? I mean, I know you have a Discord where people are helping you test and also to talk about features and such. Anything else you want to get the word out on the street?
Just join the Discord and give it a test. Start making feature requests or bug reports. The documentation is already out. It's pretty thorough. It describes a lot more than what we're talking about here, and goes not crazy into depth, but definitely gives you a good idea of how to use things.
Great. So I will make sure that the links on how to download this and where to find the Discord are all included. Definitely encourage people to check this out. This is cool. This is some new technology. Good for the scene. Good for the public multiplayer servers, and also I actually think this would be even more interesting for the private communities, the ones that have like really big co-op missions. I can see this being really, really cool for them because those communities are generally pretty small and they don't really have the resources to make these things on their own. So I think this would be a really big unlock for them, and which is great. So Wizard, thank you for your contribution to the community, and I hope it goes well. And we will be keeping an eye on this, right?
Absolutely. And since you hear that beeping going on in the background, you might have shown what's going on with that. If you use left control M.
Oh, that's what that is?
Yeah, that's your messages window. So certain types of tones will indicate like an enemy, or not an enemy, but a alt message or an allies message. The allies message is kind of like a nice friendly sound. You can also do private messages between other controllers, private messages between you and a person in game. So you can send a private message to a person in game that only they receive, and they can also send messages back to you via private message from in game. So you'll hear a different type of tone for that.
All right, perfect.